Hi guys, I'm Shmi. Hello, welcome back to the channel and welcome to the Ferrari stand at the 2019 Geneva Motorshow, where they've unveiled this, the new Ferrari F8 Tributo. There are two of the cars behind me, but let's take a good look at the new V8 mid-engine supercar, find out why it has the name that it has, and explore it in general, just fresh on its global debut right here. So let's get started then and take a look at the new Ferrari F8 Tributo. There are two of these to explore today. The first is this lovely blue Corsa car in front of us. Behind that, you also have the Rosso Scuderia car. But let's start exploring around the exterior. Of course, this is the replacement to the Ferrari 488 GTB. Now, to give you a bit of a background on the car, in general terms, the model has been upgraded from the 458 Italia through the 458 Speciale, the hardcore version, then into the 488 GTB, and then more recently into the Ferrari 488 Pista. This comes using a lot of the components in terms of the engine from the Pista, so it's the 3.9 litre bi-turbo V8 making 720 horsepower and 770 newton meters. It's not necessarily the replacement to the Pista, which was launched right here on this very stage 12 months before, because this is the more comfortable version, the road-going version, not necessarily for people who are going to spend their entire lives driving the car out on the racetrack. It shares a lot of familiarity. There are a few shared components, in fact, the doors, for example, the roof and the window glass, but the rest of the car is entirely reworked. This car is 40 kilos lighter in its lightest configuration with the carbon wheels than the Ferrari 488 GTB. Of course, the wheels are a substantial saving as part of that. It is 50 kilos heavier than the Pista for the coupe, not the Pista Aperta. There may well be a spider of this to follow in due course, but that is of course due to adding back in the sound deadening, making things a little bit more comfortable, adding carpets and having less exposed carbon fiber and slightly fewer carbon fiber components, for example having an aluminium bonnet instead of the carbon fiber bonnet found on the Pista. What it does do though is use some of the Pista's aerodynamics. For example, at the very front of the car you have this S-duct where air can come through here and up over the bonnet to keep the front end slightly more planted down to the ground. Overall it's 10% more aerodynamically effective in terms of downforce. The 488 had 204 kilos of downforce. This car has 10% more. The Pista had 20% more, so it comes in somewhere in the middle of that. As you look actually around the car, there are quite a few aero designs and tweaks and things that have been done. You can see, for example, here we've got the carbon fiber lip add-on to the spoiler at the front, the splitter. You then also got the aero pieces as part of the side skirts, the cooling intakes here with the turning vane, and around the rear as well, behind this rear glass panel, the air can also go out under the carbon fiber spoiler, which of course then keeps it a little bit more planted down at the rear as well. Now, talking about the rear, F8 Tributo. What is this car a tribute to? Of course, Tributo, the Italian word for tribute. Firstly, the F8 segment, Ferrari 8, V8, 8-cylinder, and that is exactly what it is a tribute to. This engine, the 3.9 litre twin turbocharged V8, won International Engine of the Year awards 3 years in a row. In fact, it's been voted the best engine for the last 2 decades, 20 years. This is a tribute to that engine. It also pertains, or introduces, I should say, some elements seen in older Ferraris. For example, the Lexan window that you have at the rear has these slats almost like the Ferrari F8 did, so you've got some of those touches as well. I'm not going to lie, I'm not the biggest fan of these wheels that it's currently wearing, but this paint colour is spectacular. Now, a bit more about the aero of the car. As the front starts to swing around towards us and we can see it a little bit more, you'll notice that the headlights are now a new LED light, which means they're much narrower, and you have this additional space just above, which can be used as an intake for cooling that goes down towards the brakes, down towards the lower sections of the car. Actually, right under here at the side, you can just about see those triple gills. Down there, that's for the air to flow out from the radiators. So the radiator position inside used to send air up and through. Now it sends air down. It's been tilted backwards to push that hot air out underneath the car. You've generally got more opening areas for cooling and airflow through the front of the car that you can see here, and even you can see the light coming in through the S-duct right there, which is just kind of cool. Obviously, a smaller amount of opening gives a little bit more luggage space in the front without taking away from that too substantially. But the front end totally reworked. You can see inspiration inspirations from the Ferrari J50, the car of which only 10 units were made to celebrate 50 years of Ferrari in Japan. Just a sharper, different shape to the front end. New look. I like the way the headlights, though, still retain the same outline shape, but use that negative space for cooling instead of course, the more traditional lights that it wore before. We've got the Scuderia shields worn on the front fenders, as always, with a Ferrari. But let's just come through and have a quick peek through this window glass to see a bit more of the beautiful engine here, presented with the carbon fibre engine surrounds, the award-winning engine that makes this car, and in fact, even through just rear-wheel drive, two-wheel drive with a 7-speed dual-clutch gearbox, the performance numbers for this are crazy. 0 to 100 kilometers an hour, 62 miles per hour, in just 2.9 seconds. 0 to 200 kilometers per hour, 124 miles per hour, is dispatched in just 7.8, and it will go on to a top speed of 340 kilometers per hour. That's equal and matching to the Pista. Now, when it talking about the Pista, of course, the Italian word for taking it to the racetrack, the hardcore version, that car at Fiorano was doing 1 minute 21 and a half. This car is doing 1:22 and a half, which is half a second quicker than the 1:23 achieved by the 488 GTB that came before. So a lot of intent and potential that you can tell with this. It doesn't come on the Sport Cup 2s, the sticky tyres that you had before, but now on the Pirelli P0, a slightly more dailyable and usable tyre option for the car. So here we go then. Let's take a quick look now actually at the interior. Have a look in here then. So you can get two different seat options in the F8 Tributo. This is the racing seat, the only option that you could have in the Pista. There is also a more comfortable option available, but this seat, carbon fibre backed and finished with some lovely trim as well. In fact, the interior of this car is looking very nice with the colours to match with the exterior. You've got a mix of Alcantara, leather, of course carpets down there as well instead of the exposed carbon fibre. And the seat itself has the perforation as well as that centre stripe running the full way up. But just to take a step inside here to show you in a little bit more detail some of the changes. So you have the air conditioning vents styled like as they were introduced in the 812 Superfast, so round, and you can see how those move also in the Lusso and the other models. You've also got the passenger display, so that can bring up all sorts of different pieces of information, whether it's the driving dynamic modes, how the car is configured, or your media and that kind of thing, your speedometer, whatever the passenger would like to see. Down here you've got your main driving controls, your launch control, automatic or manual on the gearbox, on the 7-speed dual clutch gearbox, a very quick shifting gearbox, and reverse, which would also bring up the rear view camera that you'd see just here, a larger, higher resolution display than seen on the 488 naturally, and those displays are controlled through the various toggles that you actually have on either side. Now the steering wheel itself has also changed. It's a slightly smaller wheel, slightly more sporty in terms of its orientation. You can see the basic controls. You have your indicators that can be done either using the thumbs or from the back with a finger on either side, and then down below that, engine start stop. The bumpy road mode, so if you're in the more civilized, shall we say, road settings, that can make the suspension more comfortable. Your lights, your wipers, and then of course Ferrari's Manettino just to the right of the mobile phone and telecommunication buttons. So here, interesting thing, it has Ferrari's latest generation of the software that controls basically slip angle and allows you to have a lot of dynamic fun now in race, as before you would have needed CT off or ESC completely off, which you do by holding it that way. But basically you toggle this through the different driving modes: sport, good fun; wet if you need to be extra safe; race for more aggressive, more violent shifts, basically having a really good time with the exhaust note. And the car revs up nearly to 8,000 RPM, and this is one of the reasons this car has been named as so, is because of those awards, is because of how well it revs up. Basically next to no turbo lag whatsoever, a very natural engine, very quick shift as well, and a car that you can see they've reworked and updated the interior, some glossy carbon trim as well that just runs across the width of it on the inside. So all in here, very, very nice. Small upgrades, but upgrades that just add to the experience of the car a touch more. You've got a small amount of luggage space, if you can just see here on the parcel shelf. Of course, there is a frunk up in front of us, and then a view back there into the engine bay, which looks particularly special. It's a beautiful thing to be looking back and into. Now just down here actually to show you, let's open the front bonnet so that we can have a quick glance in there. And I'm also going to pull this lever to open up the rear engine bay hatch as well. So let's just come around very quickly and have a quick view in here. I've got to work out as I go how you open it. Lift it up, there'll be a latch just under here somewhere. There we go. and you can see, oh, that's nice with the carbon fibre. And of course, as with modern Ferraris, you have the personalised specifications plaque worn on the back of the front space, but you can see that you get a decent amount of luggage in here and your Ferrari toolkit and various bits of accessories. But we also get a better view at the carbon fibre that makes this S-duct that comes up through that front bumper. That is really actually quite a nice thing to look at with all the carbon fibre options to have there on the inside. And if we come towards the rear, just to open this up as well, the Lexan window with those slats that you can see, hydraulically opening up to reveal that engine bay. Traditional Ferrari engine cover, but a work of art, as is always the case with a Ferrari. The engine mounted deep for a low centre of gravity, producing over 700 horsepower, 720 horsepower, 770 newton meters of torque. And looking at that spectacular while it does it. One of Ferrari's, I think, highlight features is always how beautiful the engine bay actually looks when you're up close to it. So I might leave this car with the various parts open and just head off for the moment. We had a look around the blue Corsa car. While we're here, I also want to check out this one in Rosso Scuderia, a slightly orangier take on red than the Ferrari Rosso Corsa, their more traditional colour, we could say. But you can see also at the back, we didn't really go into this in too much detail. The design work back here, of course, the quad tail lights as we saw in the 812, also in the GTC4 Lusso. You've got these vented areas for cooling out of the back of the car, those quite central exhaust tailpipes as seen on the Pista, and actually before that on the Speciale as well, and then the vanes of the diffuser down below with some active aero folding flaps as well to give the car more stability when required down there. Now the wheels on this car are painted in a slightly different finish, the satin finish as you can see, but again, this is not my favourite design that Ferrari have leaned towards in recent versions of the car, as we can see inside at the moment, just with some red stitching and trim as well on this car. I think overall it's come perhaps a little bit earlier than many might have expected from Ferrari to update. You know, the Pista literally was launched just 12 months ago. It feels like almost yesterday standing here filming two Pistas that were presented, and then the Pista Aperta came in the summer of Pebble Beach. So traditionally Ferrari's hardcore models I think have lasted more like 18 months before the next generation has come, so it's a touch on the early side. Customers haven't yet necessarily taken delivery of Pista Apertas, but it's not really that thing, or is it? That's what I can't work out. What do you guys think? Is it a replacement? Is it the next generation? Is it a stopgap? How does this car fit? I can't entirely work it out. What I do know though is it's a good looking car. It incorporates some significant design, I think functional aspects that are a nice step up from the 488 GTB. But while we're here though, let's continue and just explore a little bit further at some of the other cars on this stand, including a very nice tailor-made Portofino we can see through to the back. Over on this side of the stand we have the Ferrari Portofino, of course sharing a similar engine, 3.9 bi-turbo V8, one of the best looking convertible GT cars in my eyes, always has been. A different appearance for it here though, in a very, very metallic, we call it a pale silver, slight tint of beige in the paintwork, but I do think the Portofino is a good step forwards from the California T, and very much enjoyed driving that one as well. At the other side of the stand we have the V12s, the 812 Superfast, beautiful in the Giallo Tristrato, the triple layer yellow paintwork, and the Ferrari GTC4 Lusso, the V12 version. Of course they make the Lusso T with that V8 engine as well, which is all quite interesting as part of the story behind that car. But these, with their V12s, front mid-engine, so much fun, such a good sound. I love the things, and I would love to actually drive another 812 again soon. I only had one outing at the press launch, I think it was quite a while ago now. The Lusso I know well, and it's a car that one day I would love to spend a lot more time with. Let's see if that ever happens. For the time being though, let's head into the back here where there is the other Portofino, the very special one, to come and see. Have a look at this then, Verde Pino. This is a colour that comes, I think there's actually a demonstration here. You can see the 275 on which it was modelled, but this colour is gorgeous. That interior is really quite striking against the body colour of the car, but this setup is very much about the different options you can have, the configuration, the customizations and the changes you can make to your Ferrari models. I like this though, in Verde Pino, an awful lot. I would very much one day think that would be a good colour choice for a Ferrari to have in the garage, so let's see, because I love that. Back out at the main stand though, this is the car we came to see, the F8 Tributo, that's been launched here at this year's Geneva Motorshow, following in the footsteps of many great Ferraris that have been launched here as well. How exactly this is going to sit and go down remains to be seen, as does what it's like to drive, but those performance figures are pretty breathtaking for this, and I think design-wise, although under the skin it might be more or less kind of a facelift or update to the 488, design-wise, substantial improvements. The rear looks awesome. I think it's just a touch sharper, and clearly it's going to be a touch better to drive as well with the extra power, with the extra aero that's available. I've not at this point driven a Pista, so I wouldn't yet know how to necessarily position it alongside that. I very much enjoyed taking a first look at the car here today, along with its launch as part of this show. So, what do you guys think? Let us know in the comments down below. But for today, that is it, visiting the Ferrari stand. Thank you very much, as always, for your support. I hope you've enjoyed this first look. Be sure to be subscribed and check out the other videos from this year's Geneva Motor Show. That's it for now, though. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you very soon. Cheers!